it depends how you want to look at it. In terms of, let's say, inclusivity, companies today are much more open to the trends of today, I guess you'd call it. Unless it's a mom and pop place, there's a lag there. But in terms of the giant corporations, there's more inclusivity, more openness, more to the problems of today. Now, however, because of all these things that are happening today, now you have all these other problems that happen because you have to be open to a whole bunch of things that you didn't have yesterday. For instance, you have people that are trans or whatever, and it's a shock when you gotta share the bathroom with someone like that.
So there are common bathrooms now? So anyone can use
Yes.
it? Are you kidding me?
Yes.
Improvement over the years in corporate responsibility or in terms of labor practices?
Well, it depends how you want to look at it. In terms of, let's say, inclusivity, companies today are much more open to the trends of today, I guess you'd call it. Unless it's a mom and pop place, there's a lag there. But in terms of the giant corporations, there's more inclusivity, more openness, more to the problems of today. Now, however, because of all these things that are happening today, now you have all these other problems that happen because you have to be open to a whole bunch of things that you didn't have yesterday. For instance, you have people that are trans or whatever, and it's a shock when you gotta share the bathroom with someone like that.
So there are common bathrooms now? So anyone can use it?
Yes.
Are you kidding me?
Yes.
Oh my, such a big company?
Yes.
Oh wow.
In fact, I had a shock when I walked into, and there's a female who wants to be a male, but she's able to use the bathroom, and you're like, okay, what's going on here? Like,
How does it impact you?
well, it's uncomfortable because it's a shock. Because if we're all going to be in the same stall, like, I don't know.
So no one bothered to ask the company employees what should be done about it? It was a unilateral decision of management?
Well, they felt we have to be open to the times.
Oh wow. And such a big company. So
Yeah.
the precedence of social cultural norm change is now taken at the level of a company, which means the rights of the legislative assemblies and parliaments are being taken away from them. So
Well, you have to be careful what you say, how you say it, what you infer type of thing, because any little thing now could get you in trouble. If someone says, I'm offended, now you're in trouble.
wow,
Yeah,
you could lose your job.
yes.
Wow. And you could lose your business, like in the case of Target. Of course, it was pro whatever,
Yeah.
LGBTQT, but still.
Yeah,
That,
yeah. Well, Chick-fil-A had a problem once because they had funded a group that was anti-gay, and they had protesters yelling and screaming, and sometimes bad publicity can be good, but sometimes you don't need the headache.
But how I see it is as a dilution of the rights of people. It's like you are deciding at a different level altogether. There is no consensus, there's no... Because you may be hurting them, but they are hurting us as well. To put it very bluntly, I would still like a company to invest in one set of toilets that is gender neutral, one set that believes
Yes.
firmly in male, and the other that believes in female.
Well, they look at it as it costs too much money to do that. So, since this is what we have, we got male and female, and we got to work with that.
Okay, so oh, that's strange. How do others react to it in the company? It's a huge company. They're earning
Well,
a lot of profits.
it is strange, but you have to do what you have to do, and
Were there any announcements made or any, or just it was just thrust on you, like?
well,
got it.
it's thrust on you.
It's thrust on you.
It's just like, let's say, marching in the gay parade. If you're not comfortable, you can opt out, but you can't publicly say, I'm not doing it.
What is your sense of corporate social responsibility? This is one bit of it, but it is, as I see it, is very skewed towards one set of people.
Yes.
But there are other issues as well. For instance, environmental responsibility and.
Well, it all depends on how much things cost. If we can absorb the cost, then it's fine. If we don't want to absorb the cost, we circumvent and we do our own thing, and then when we publicly speak, we say one thing, but behind closed doors we do another. When you end up finding a way to go to China and use your own methods of obtaining what you need to obtain, regardless of, let's say, the environmental costs, that would be a huge problem in terms of if climate change is real, then you're putting profit before that.
So what you're trying to say is that they use aircrafts or ships or whatever to go all the way to China
Yes.
and get stuff all the way back to North America, let's hypothetically
Yes.
say the US or Canada, and then from there a whole lot of trucks or whatever.
Well,
is
by
used.
using their own transportation, they can set up a, let's say, 24-hour shipping back and forth.
So you're talking about lessening the supply chain time.
Well, it's basically, we keep the supply chain going no matter what. And in
So
order,
just in minute.
and in order to do
Just in
that,
time.
and in order to do that, you have to get, let's say, boats, planes, trucks. Some of them are not up to par with the standards of today. So basically, you're just, but you need your items, your products. So you're buying, let's say, rundown ships, rundown trains, you refurbish it, and then you put them to work. But the environmental cost is far greater than if you would, let's say, rely on a third party who has, let's say, top of the line, let's say ships, trucks, whatever.
So as we see it today, these costs that they incur, they would be added, they could be mitigated, they could be completely eradicated if they use local products. Why don't they go in for made in America or made in Canada or made in Mexico? Why all the, is it just a cost benefit analysis?
Well, a worker in North America always demands X amount. They want X amount in terms of paycheck, in terms of benefits, in terms of working conditions, whereas other places have none of that. There was a time when someone I know had a group of Chinese people come into their shop, and they were wowed by all the conveniences that we have. So when someone mentioned what they do, or some of them do, the workers here pitched in and got them a brand new machine to ease their labor. The owner of the shop there wrote back, "Thank you for the nice gesture, but if I implement this machine, I have to fire 300 people. I'm not doing that."
This was a third world country?
Yes,
Or
yes.
Oh.
And you know what position they had? They had to lick a sticker and put it on a parcel. That was their job. All day, that's all they do.
And they didn't want to make them redundant or use that machine to make them redundant.
Yes.
That's the kind of social corporate
Yes.
responsibility that
Yes.
country has towards its
Yes.
workers. And
Yes.
here we are in the company
Yes.
that you work for.
Yes.
It's closing down some of its warehouses.
Well, they look at it as progress and automation and, well, those 200, 300, 400, 5,000 people can go elsewhere. Or they can create their own job or go somewhere else. They have no loyalty. It's you're here today, you could be gone tomorrow.
So as we see the corporate culture in this part of the world, we as human beings would be redundant and a liability to the government in terms of even depending on small paychecks from the government to help us out in our day-to-day living. Is that where we're heading, especially with AI coming in?
Well-
How's your company preparing for that?
Well, the way I see it, a lot of these large corporations, in my opinion, might be the reason we have universal basic income. Because when you have a big corporation massively hiring, and then, oh, well now our rush is done, we don't need these people anymore. What do we do with them? Fire them. Gone. Thank you.
So what happens? They just become unemployed and on social
Yes.
assistance?
Well-
But social assistance is only for so much time.
What happens is you'll have such a huge amount of people being laid off. Because when you think about it, when is the rush? It's usually holidays, when a company has like some special promotion. After that, they don't need you. And if they don't need you, well, you're out the door. You can scream and shout, but you're out the door. Now, another thing that they use here in North America is permanent part-time. Now, you have a job, but I don't have to pay you benefits. And I can make it in such a way where I package it as well. Now you have more free time to do what you want. So you have a lot of people who are doing 2 and 3 and 4 jobs. I read a story of a woman who works 4 jobs. Because what she does is she works 2 days here, 2 days there, 2 days there, because she ended up not wanting to commit to anybody, and she likes the diversity.
But also the union does not fight for more than 4 hours a week or something like that?
Well, the thing with the unions in general today, they're not what they started out as. Back in the day, there was a need for a union. Today, they're basically just an ornament. A lot of companies, what happens is, even though the union's there, they do not side with the employee, they side with the boss, because they can make more money siding with the boss than the employee, but they still want the union, the dues. Because what they do is, it justifies their position, but meanwhile they do nothing at all.
At least for the employees, because their existence depends on how the company bosses perceive them. If they perceive them as trouble?
Well, it's one of those things where whatever the company wants, the company will get, as long as they give some kind of something to the employee. But it's not near enough what you should be doing. For instance, say something is dangerous. You have the right to refuse.
Right.
But if you keep refusing, eventually it'll be like, you know what? That person's trouble, move on. I worked for a company where we had pallets in front of things, and you were supposed to get, let's say, something behind that pallet. But if I have something in front of me, now that's an obstacle. I gotta go climbing, I gotta go fishing for stuff. If I put, let's say I bend under something, I run the risk of hitting my head.
Absolutely, yeah.
Well, There was a guy who complained, and who does the safety board send to see all this? Two old ladies. And they walked in and they looked around. Oh, what a nice place. Yeah, I see pallets. Yeah, but I don't understand how this works. So it looks nice. It looks nice to me.
And so nothing was
And so nothing was done. And on top of that, at the end of that shift, that person was gone. So it's like, even if you have a union, even if you don't have a union, it's the same thing. Yeah, companies do whatever they want, however they want, and it's all written in. Also, the way that they write everything in with the lawyers, you can't compete. Because even if you compete, they'll take it in front of a judge and they'll start, giving you lawyer speak, and by the end of it, you're like, what? And you have you haven't realized what just happened.
So I see it as a great challenge for governments in this part of the world to deal with this kind of unemployment, and more of a burden on the treasury and the government. And then too, they won't be able to give a lifetime of sustenance to these unemployed workers. They can only give social security for so much time. You find in Canada at least 1 in every 5 people is older than 55 years ago, and that's supposed to be increasing.
Well, there's a war between the younger generation and the older generation. Again, going back to the street smarts, the book smarts, and life smarts and all that. Because most recent graduates,
Right.
if it's not in the book, they don't understand how it works. So basically, problems come up, they can't solve them. And the older generation could solve it, but we're not allowed to solve it because that's not in the book.
However, there's a report by the University of Alberta that says 91% older people say they have experienced ageism. It's a kind of race, like you have racism and ageism. But then it also says 98% of younger people admit to discriminating against older people.
Yes.
But with older people coming, with the aging society in Canada, this is going to be the norm. That older people will have to go till 65, maybe 70 because of the economic conditions and.
And sometimes in some of these warehouse environments, you have older people who are not, let's say, Canadian. They're from another country, so that's that's even, it compounds the problem even worse.
Yes.
Because sometimes language is an issue, sometimes cultural norms are an issue.
So it leads to a lot of erosion of self-esteem in the population.
Well, it makes a lot of friction, unnecessarily.
Workplace friction.
Yes.
What are the issues, other issues? Do you see like there is an openness towards immigrants, at least in these kind of jobs? Or do you feel even in these kind of jobs there's a kind of resentment towards immigrants and refugees?
It's more of everyone gets kind of dumped in a spot, and then depending on the individuals, uh, some people are open to that, some people are not open to that. And then also sometimes what happens is when you get, let's say, too many of one culture, it starts to there's a clash between cultures because sometimes music, they want to play music to get the people. Okay, you know what? Let's diffuse the situations. Let's make things more fun. But then if one culture overtakes everybody else, people start resenting it. Why are you playing your music? Why can't I play my music? And then next thing you have like everybody playing their music type of thing, and you have like, let's say 7 speakers all playing something different. Like by the end of the night, your head's like just pounding because it's not music anymore. It's noise coming from everywhere, and you're like, I just want to go home because like I can't think straight. And then you have the thing where we want to make it fun, but when you either, I don't know if it's trying too hard or pushing it too hard, it becomes a mess because like again, it becomes noise. Like I'm not really learning anything or embracing anything. It's just being forced on me, and I'm resenting it. And because of that, you start resenting the people that you're with. Well, it is ironically all that is made to bring you closer, but it does the opposite.